essentially Israel with South Africa and Zimbabwe, as we now call it, Rhodesia, Mozambique, still controlled by Portugal, but they're outriders. Portugal's outrider. They faced a problem. How do we avoid the push towards self-determination? It's in the vein of the world. The more countries that join the UN, the more post-colonial regimes there are, the more the solidarity with the South Africans and the Rhodesians and the Palestinians will be hard to prevent. And true enough, those are the flashpoints with sanctions very early against Rhodesia, with successful boycotts in South Africa, and Palestine is next. And the obvious comparison between the three, or the obvious link between the three, is they're all settler colonial entities. They're all places which originate in a colonial context, but in which the colonial community has so embedded itself that it does not identify any longer with its parent country and feels, not implausibly, that it belongs. So that's when you get intractable political violence. It bit in Northern Ireland, although it remained within the United Kingdom. A bunch of people came over from Scotland, took the best land in the north of Ireland, and then developed their own personality as unionists within Ulster. The same with the Afrikaners, no longer Dutch, no longer happy to get in a bus and go home to the Netherlands, not like the white Kenyans when they lost, they came back, as it were. So and Israel especially, because of the problem of the Jewish people, the lack of a home, the backstory of the Holocaust. So they had a real problem. How do we avoid being castigated as colonial and just being the next one? And the answer, very made easy, it has to be said, by Palestinian violence, international violence, which was tough, horrible violence, made easy by that violence, was to create a feeling on the part of world opinion. American was much more skeptical then than they are now of Israel, that you're not dealing with a colonial problem, you're dealing with a terrorist problem. And so, one, Palestinian violence was, I'm repeating myself, quite severe. Lots of people have been killed, horribly killed, hijacks, assassinations, mowing down buses, not great. But two, similar types of violence were going on in the key markets for this story at the same time, Europe and America. Europe had the Red Army faction Baader Meinhof from Germany, the Red Brigades from Italy, the Basque so-called terrorists from Spain, and of course the IRA. America had less severe, but they had the radical lefts of the Weather Underground, the Symbionese Liberation Army, and Canada even had the FLQ, Free Quebec. Yeah. So it was a time of unparalleled peace in the global north. So the levels of violence, which were quite heavy from the Palestinians, less heavy but still noticeable by the Baader Meinhof and the Red Army faction, Red Brigades and so on, created an atmosphere of global anxiety, driven by global north, global anxiety. And so it was not hard to link all of these together. And all of these guys, an awful lot of them, the Red Brigades and the Red Army factions and the IRA and so on, they love Palestine. So they would sometimes, most unhelpfully, suggest that Palestinian prisoners should be released as the price of their not killing hostages or something. Well, if you were a strategic thinker for Palestine in the early 1970s, you would have said, please leave us out of it, And the Soviet Union was a very big supporter of Palestine. It provided a lot of facilities and training and so on. But it was also, as we now know from evidence from the archives, absolutely supporting the European terrorist movements as well, especially in Germany. So you've got a plausible story. And the plausible story is, my God, the world is threatened by these mad people. And these mad people include these and these. and they include the Palestinians. And Munich was a big turning point. There was a tremendously memorable attack on the Munich Olympics, which killed a bunch of people in the failed execution of a rescue by the Germans and so on. And so that's how it came about. And there were lots of conferences, and Mr. Netanyahu, the current Prime Minister of Israel, made his name as an intellectual, and all these terrorist experts began to spring up, writing books published by it has to be said, published by publishing houses very sympathetic to Israel, and it was how can the West win, and dealing with the Palestinian threat. I've got a lot of this in the book. Palestine and sort of the Corsican rebels. Palestine, and no group was too small to be linked by Mr. Netanyahu and his team of researchers to
create this global anxiety. And the Palestinians are the epicenter of this terrorism.
Correct.
This global terrorism.
And then the final turn in it was